we have a very interesting setup. Like, I'm not really a synastry astrologer. I barely call myself an astrologer still. Um, but our charts are flipped from each other as far as like my ascendant is in Taurus, your ascendant's in Scorpio. So our houses are completely opposite each other. And that often means like I've got to the point now where if I wake up and I'm feeling like I'm in a flow state today, I automatically know that you're not.
That I'm in the pucker zone.
You're in a pucker zone area and you're like not gonna be having it, and I get to be either patient with you and ignore it the way that you ask me to, or find a way to support you. Since I'm in that more flowful space.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before we get too far in and I gaslight myself to absolve Mitze over here from gaslighting me, welcome everybody to AstroDivaz with Peterbilt and Stone. I'm Nikki Stone.
And I'm Mitze Peterbilt. And today we are going to be talking about gaslighting, but we're going to be talking about the ways that we gaslight ourselves in the creative process. We're going to be talking about polarity and how to balance out the creative energy in your creative process through the lens of astrology. We're so delighted that you're here.
Let's get going.
It's interesting that we're having this conversation right now because at the time that we're recording this episode, Jupiter has just moved into Pisces. And Jupiter is the planet of big vision and anything is possible. And having that placement in Pisces is really fortunate place to be. And it's going to be there for a little while. And it's a great opportunity to look at where we've been holding ourselves back from our imagination, where we've been creating false narratives of our belief and losing our faith in our creativity. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about the pucker zone, of course, because we always talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about synastry. This is, I think, a great opportunity to talk about the creative process and how we work together and what some of the things that we have operating in our individual charts that make success and also challenges for us. You have mentioned before that when I get uptight and I get into that sort of nitpicky Virgo area, that it triggers you a little bit because you feel like you want to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you have done that really sort of breaks that when I'm in that crabby pucker zone area, what you do so well is you just point it out and make fun of me. And it works. And you can tell how far in the pucker zone I am by how quickly I come out of that. If I laugh at you, we're all good. And I have been known to just slam the computer shut and we call it a day.
We've never called it a day.
We've never
you
called
have
it
slammed
a
the
day.
computer shut on
But
me.
you know, just Leo loves drama. I dramatize everything. It's my north node. It's the only place where I have. So when it finally feels like something, it's probably gone too far.
And usually, like when I'm bringing that humor side and you're not that far in the pucker zone, you do like snap out and find a place to find the humor. Mm-hmm. But when you are really deep, it's just a no reaction kind of space. You're definitely more in that Aquarian South node of like the whole world's out to get me and you're just a part of it.
It is so. These placements are such a pain in the ass. I was thinking about that today. I was like, in my morning meditation is I wake up with atmosphere to burn off. I'm not one of these people who my boyfriend he's so happy at 5 a.m. He gets up, he's bounding through his day, and he knows not to engage me until I've had my coffee because I have atmosphere to burn off. I don't normally naturally wake up in that wonderful creative space. And it doesn't matter how many transformational programs and how much mindset work that I do, I just process emotion very deeply in my sleep, and sometimes I wake up with it, and so I have to burn it off and sort through, am I processing something that's global or outside myself, or is it really mine to take responsibility for? And it took me a long time to ask that question, is this mine? And 9 times out of 10, if I ask that question, I'm picking up on something in the collective. And that's um that Aquarius Saturn thing. It's just, and so that's where my surly victim, it just comes from that placement in Aquarius. And learning to accept that and fall in love with it has been a game changer.
I have a similar issue in the mornings. That comes from a different place because my son's in Taurus in the first house. My ascendant is Taurus, and my south node's in Virgo. That's all very earthy.
Mhm.
So for me to switch from sleep mode to waking mode takes a lot of tilling the mud to get out of bed in the morning.
Mhm.
And that's not to say I'm not capable of just getting up and going, but it's not easy at all. And when I can take the easier route, that's part of the reason why I'm changing my jobs, is so that I can actually be more on my own schedule that's going to work for me and not have to wake up before the sun gets up and actually work through the night, or work through a part of the night when I'm more energized and when I'm more naturally like have already got my energy going for the day. And it's easier for me to tap into my Gemini and keep it going and tap into that feedback loop that we've been talking about that I have.
Mhm.
So we have like a lot of differences that end up giving us similar results.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful balance. Um, it's rare that we're both in the pucker zone at the same time. And if we find ourselves there, we still find a way of creating something out of that. Like we let ourselves go all the way to the bottom of that. And sometimes that's where we've created our funniest stuff, is when we're like really, really deep down in it. So that's
I think that's a testament to both of our strong Scorpio placements too.
mhm, mhm.
Like your Scorpio ascendant, Scorpio Venus, um, Neptune?
And
Was Neptune?
Neptune rising, yeah.
Yeah. Is that still in Scorpio?
It's still in Scorpio.
Yeah. And I have Scorpio seventh house with Pluto. So like
Mhm,
a self-ruled Pluto in Scorpio
mhm.
just kind of holding on to like everything else in my chart. It's not at quite the right degree to fully aspect with everything, but it does have a lot of control over how I interact with other people, which is exactly what this is when we get together and we do things. So
Yeah.
that strong Scorpio placement pairs up with yours, even though they're on opposite sides of a chart, and we can get similar results because they're both just really strong.
And that, the one of the things about Scorpio, I think that people misunderstand sometimes is that aspect of Scorpio that is intense, that triggers other people, is because we have high demands for professionalism. That eighth house scorpionic energy really is about the appearance of a professional. And so regardless of where we are, we're going to energize that Scorpio energy, and we're going to step into it like it's our job. That's the fun part.
That's a little bit of our synastry. Do you want to dive into the parts of our charts that don't work well together?
Let's do that. I'm guessing you're going to go to Leo.
Your Leo, I mean, it's not my favorite, but it doesn't bother me that much. I really do like Leos a lot. I like Leo energy. Probably because Leo's my fourth house. So that's my like home
Yeah.
energy. My sister has a Leo ascendant. My best friend from Akron has a Leo ascendant. So I don't have a problem with Leo energy. I do get annoyed with it every now and again. Sometimes it's like, oh, I can take that in small chunks.
Mhm.
But you're not in your Leo enough for me to like Or
I
when you
think it's
are and I'm
more,
annoyed with it, I can just brush it off because you end up moving into something else because of
yeah.
your Virgo.
Well, it is, and I think what reads as Leo is that my Jupiter, my Pisces Jupiter is sitting there in the fifth house. So I'm going to be in this, oh, sure, let's da, 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 and I'll just rattle something off. And it's not even anywhere near what we discussed we were going to do. And I'm like, oh, sure, we can do it. Let's just do it. Let's just,
Yeah.
and I think that, um, your South Node Virgo doesn't like that at all.
No. I mean, it's a mutable thing, but your mutability is really what grinds my gears. Where
It
one day we're
grinds your
saying we're gonna
teeth.
do, yeah, like it grinds my hooves.
Yes, it does, exactly.
I like it really bothers me that from one day to the next day we decided we're going to do one thing and then we do another thing, or we finally get this one project like 97% complete and then you want to start a new project and I'm just like, I'm not done yet, we need to finish the other thing first.
You've really helped me get better at that, because I've actually got some feedback coming back to me, like, and you say it, you've gotten so much better at saying, okay, let's finish this. Let's finish this. Because your fixity and my mutability are kind of like ships that pass in the night sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the rest of our synastry that we have is that it makes it easier for those grinding moments to turn into teaching and learning moments. It's easier for me knowing that I can find your Virgo sun in my Virgo South Node. It makes it easier that I can find your Leo in my fifth house. And when those things that you do bother me, I can redirect the energy to where it would benefit me more if you work this way. Which we're getting kind of a little bit more into gaslighty territory there.
Let's keep going there. I love that you finally said it out loud. That is that's the thing I love about Taurus, because they're really good. You are really good at making me think it's my idea when you're getting your way. And
and most of the time it is. Sometimes we have to plant the idea. But at the end of the day, we said this while we were painting. I don't have to tell you what I think you should do. But I can feed you the ideas and be aware that you're not going to choose what I said. I learned that a long time ago. My sister is just like that. She's a Gemini sun, Taurus moon, Leo rising, and I learned a long time ago that if I tell her what I think should do, she's not going to do it. And then working with an Aries who has a Leo moon, it's all we do is I say, you know what, I think we should do this. And then she goes, but what if we did this too? Or what if we did that instead, and builds off of it. I've learned, and it took me a long time because it used to annoy the fuck out of me, but I've learned that like I can be the stepping off point and I'm still getting my input and we don't have to do what I want to do. And it can be your idea, even if it started off as my idea.
Well, that's a testament to your Venus is your ruler. So if you're truly in a space of creating relationship around, especially around creativity and teaching, which is what you do, when you're in that space and you're getting feedback from other people and it becomes a confluence and a collaboration, then you really are in a strong position with your Venus ruler. And I think where you can gaslight yourself is telling yourself that it should be any other way. When you get fixated on, I need it to be my way, and there's unmet expectations that come from unrealistic places, then that's when you start jumping into that confluence, that beautiful Taurus, Scorpio polarity between resentment and resentment and people pleasing.
And that's a really fine line to like tiptoe sometimes of, is this like a high demand that nobody can actually meet, or am I just not in a space that I'm going to actually get what I want? And is there a space out there for me where I can get what I want? That's what took me so long to change what I'm doing, is that like life isn't that clean and easy. There's a lot of joy and a lot of relationship and a lot of just pride that comes with educating. And there's a lot of debt and a lot of emotional labor and mental labor, and it's fulfilling and it's draining at the same time. So how do you make a decision up from that? Of this is filling me up in one way and it's draining me in another way, and I'm burning the candles at both ends, or like building the candle on this end and burning the candle at that end, and sometimes that candle burns faster than I can build it. So I don't know exactly where I'm going with the rest of that, but
well, one of the things that was coming out and what you just started to say is that we came into this with a topic around unmet expectations, and it's really easy to get identified with, especially as creative people, with what we're doing as our source of income, the thing that's paying the bills, be the ultimate expression of our creativity and fulfill our purpose. And you know that you're an educator and you know that you're really good at that, and you're educating in a creative field and it's not supporting you.
right.
And the decision to shift somewhere else for you was solely going someplace that was going to be more supportive, that was going to take less emotional input so that you have more time for your personal creativity. So it feels to me like you're making an investment in yourself just by earning money to liberate yourself to do more personal creativity, rather than giving it all. You have nothing left at the end of the day because you've put all of yourself into your work, which you do. I know that from working with you. When you show up creatively, you're 110% all the time.
Well, thank you for that feedback.
Of course.
Yeah. And I do burn myself out from that. So if anything, I gaslight myself into worthiness conversations that create that space where I feel like I need to be at 110% to prove that I'm worth doing whatever I'm doing. And at the end of the day, this kind of creative work, people only see the end product.
Yeah.
They don't see the turmoil and the hours of work that it takes to edit the videos and put on the makeup and schedule when we're going to meet, and like they just see
come
the
up
end
with
result.
the topics and say.
So yeah, I'm not saying I should stop showing up at 110%, because I think that's just naturally who I am and what I'm going to do anyways. But I think what you're speaking into is the importance of the decisions that I'm making for my own health and sanity and safety. Because there's a safety issue for sure. You and I have talked
your
a
second house
lot.
has not been fed.
No. And everything lives in my second house. My moon, my what's that called? My Gemini. My Mercury and my moon are both in my second house. They really have a lot of needs from a Gemini standpoint to get filled and to be able to create an environment that is actually like filling my cup and filling my finances and filling my emotional and communicative and physical needs. And what I was talking into earlier is like, it truly is like, it can be a life or death thing. Life or death. Did I say deaf or death?
I heard death.
Okay, good. We talked a lot about that this season. We talked about the death experience. We talked about grief, and me being able to have that really healthy relationship with that because of my strong Scorpio placement in my seventh house, and because of my second house, which is finances. Like, if I don't have those healthy conversations with myself, I don't want to continue to live, point blank. And it's
And it
not
feels like
a,
that sometimes.
yeah. And it's literally like those places of suicidal ideation that we've been talking about and that we bring up. It doesn't stop. And I don't know, it's weird to not know where that limit is. Like, what part of my life actually has to be fully in order for that to go away, or does it just never?
Um, I I share that conversation, that second house conversation, and um, I have had many financial stability incarnations in my many years. I've had six-figure creative jobs where I was the one that could just I always picked up the tab, and I was always really generous, and I had what I wanted. I went where I wanted. I did all the things that I wanted to do. I was miserable because I hated what I was doing. um, and I had money, and I had all my needs met, and I've had the rug completely pulled out from under me when circumstances beyond my control are go into effect, and I've lost everything. And in those times, it was an opportunity to really look at how and this is another Capricorn conversation. This is that lineage from the earth lineage from Taurus to Virgo to Capricorn. At that top of that conversation is how much we're identifying with our physical surroundings and what we're building, and how we let that become us. And the pain of losing everything, literally everything, was an opportunity to look at how much I was valuing things, how much I was valuing my what what I thought was security through acquisition. And when I no longer had the opportunity to acquire like that, um, I had to do a lot of really deep soul searching. And that's when that's when drag happened for me. That's how I put myself back out there, because what that created for me, there was a lot of shame. And that Capricorn, that's the conversation that Capricorns don't want to have, is being ashamed of losing everything. That's like the worst fear. And that's my moon. And I got to play that out. And what drag did for me is it gave me a way to play with identity and status and appearance that I didn't have to take seriously. I can have a lot more fun with. And that was really beautiful. I went off on a tangent because you said something else. So
I'm hearing you say that it's not always a what conversation, it's not always a results conversation. Sometimes it's a how conversation.
Precisely, it's a how we engage our identities in our creative process. We came into this with you talking about security and having your basic needs met. Second house conversation. I know where I wanted to go with this. There's a movie that came from a book. It's called Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And it is a novel about an incredibly gifted and creative person. She was an architect, and she had the rug pulled out from under her. And one would think from the outside that that's an identity conversation, that her position as an architect, her identity as a woman were invalidated, which they were. But the real trauma for her was not being able to create. And it wasn't her engagement in the creativity, it was what the creative output created for others. She was an architect. She was designing spaces for people to live in, and her entire purpose was meeting their needs. And when she could finally have the space to create something for other people, she finally snapped out of this suicidal ideation that she had been in. So it's not singularly about having our basic needs met. It is being able to express ourselves at the creative level in a way that's engaging. And that's what back to the conversation of how we gaslight ourselves. You know this about me so well. We've been hard at work creating this podcast. And the strongest way that I gaslight myself is in the third house. It's not going to get beyond me. It's not going to get seen. And so then I reinvent something. That's when I start something new, because I'm afraid that it's not going to get beyond us. And it really is, and it's not about the intention. It's about what gets created in the world, the conversations that get had, and the ways that we're able to challenge perceptions. And that engagement is really why I do this.
But we got so deep today, Mitze. I really, really appreciate this conversation we had. It was very filling for me. And I really want to make sure that people know that we are an open space if they want to dig deeper into their own creative process as well.
That's right. And the courage that it takes to tell ourselves the truth is a lot more accessible if we use astrology to have these deeper conversations. We don't blame it on our Mercury placement or our Mars placement. It creates a way for us to have a conversation. So if you want to have deeper conversation with your astrological chart and you want to take advantage of some of the programs that we have running, check us out at AstroDivaz.com. That's AstroDivaz, AstroDivaz.com. And you can find out how to activate your axis.
If you need a little bit of humor in your life, be it dark humor or bitchiness, be it astrology or non-astrology related, you can find us on TikTok and on Instagram. Both are at Peterbilt and Stone. We really appreciate you stopping by with us today and following through with us through this whole season.
We love you so much. We appreciate you. Wouldn't be anything without you. We appreciate our followers. We appreciate your input and your suggestions and your questions. And as always, keep it light and do the work. What do you mean quality content? All of our content is quality. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You do sound a little bit quieter than I am.
Well, maybe I should
Can you play with your volume?
Play with my volume instead of my penis? Okay. Then it's gonna have to go with it. All right.
Go, man. I feel like my lighting's different today.
It looks a little more gray than it normally does. Can you?
I think it'll be fine. Maybe if I pull this guy down a little bit. Or knock it off the table. Why are we recording this?
I'm glad that we started recording this so we can get really great shots of your belly. I was kidding. I don't want to trigger you.
I'm triggered.
Oh, that's better. Whatever you did.
It looks more Morticia Addams. That's accurate for me, right? Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it. I know what I've got. I know what I've got.
Okay.
I'll give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you.